Well, we might be done with our power station. I don't know if you can see what's coming out of that box, but I just went to see what was the current state of charging, and something stinks really, really bad. Decided to wire up the ends, start charging with solar. 33 amps. Coming from the array just outside. So we'll see how this thing works. See if the case gets warm. Obviously you don't want to keep the case in the sun anyways. Let's use the power that's there. Well, we might be done with our power station. I don't know if you can see what's coming out of that box, but I just went to see what was the current state of charging, and something stinks really, really bad. There's smoke coming from someplace. The battery's still connected, but I don't really know what's stinking. Yeah, I really don't know. I see the charge controller light is on down there, and it looks like it's absorption, but the smell is coming from over here. I'm almost wondering if some of our cabling is leaning up against something that it shouldn't be leaning up against. The meter is still on. But yeah, something's stanky. So let's just kill everything. Yuck. Yuck, yuck, yuck. Well, I turned everything back on, and all the devices are working. The charge controller's still working. BMS is fine. Relay seems to be working. Meter seems to be working. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure what the smell is, what the smoke was. Unless one of the cells started venting, but I wouldn't have assumed that would have been a slow vent. Maybe the paint is reacting with some heat? I don't know. Unfortunately, it seems like I might have to take this thing apart to figure out exactly what is going on, because the smell seemed like it was coming from down on this side, but I'm not seeing any visible problem with anything at the moment. Pretty crummy solar charge test though. Never did this with the 10 amp coming from the 12 volt charger. So something about pushing 30 amps in, but even that is a weird thing because we discharged well over 30 amps. On the positive note, the relay turned off like it was supposed to. All right, initial post-mortem, or at least post freak out. I don't know if it's completely dead yet. I've got most everything taken apart. I'm not seeing anything that's jumping out at me. None of the cabling looks bad. Some of that smell and stuff, I was wondering if cable was melting. Nothing. I'm even looking at the paint to see, because I was thinking, well, okay, maybe the paint's heating up and just causing it to smell. But even that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because I'm discharging more than 30 amps. So unless it's just a problem when I'm charging more than 10 amps. We look at the cable here, and there's no visible signs of damage. I had even thought, okay, so this is the board that I used. I had the charge controller mounted to, and I thought, all right, the charge controller is going to get hot, and I made the genius decision to paint the one side. So maybe the paint's heating up too much, and that's what's causing the smoke and the smell. Because even when I look at the video, it looks like it's coming from the charge controller side. It might be going up, hitting the inverter, and then venting over and down into the other side. But I didn't see anything on the paint job. But I did flip it over. Looking at the PV lines, nothing. Even the charge controller, the battery lines, I don't see anything jumping out at me. Let's open up the fuse box. I don't see anything with the fuse box. Wait a second. Oh, you know what that is? It looks a little black. It's soot. Because I used a lighter on this red line. You just don't see it on the black because it's black. And then a little scraping here is from the lid. So, okay. But, you know, nothing there. Even looking at the charge controller. Everything looks fine. So the only thing that I did notice so far is when I opened this up, there was like a film, a residue that was sitting on these two cells here. It seems to have dried, whatever it was, but it almost looked like moisture. So, in looking at the vents on these batteries, from the side they all look intact. And unfortunately, I was hoping to not have to do this, but I'm going to have to pull the pack out and look at the individual cells and see if I see anything on the cells. If I don't see anything there, I really don't have any ideas as to what it might be. I would have assumed if one of these cells was venting, it probably wouldn't have stopped venting. Based on some of the clips I've seen from cells venting, they just keep going and going and going until they're basically empty. But the voltages all check out on each cell. Every cell is this 3.22 or 3.23 volts. Just from a visual look, the only thing that I do see, which could just be some delamination, is right down here. There's some bubbles in the sticker. And like I said, it could just be, you know, the sticker coming off. I never had any of these problems until I tried charging with solar. I had 600 watts of solar coming into here when this can only take 500. So, I mean, the voltage was under 150 volts. It was 120 volts. But it was basically clipping and burning off that extra 100 watts. And so that's what led me to think, all right, maybe it's paint. Maybe the paint's heating up and smoking. But I guess I'm going to have to pull the cells out and see where we go from there. See if anything jumps out. I mean, I really didn't want to have to do that because those are in there nice and snug. But I needed to know what's going on. All right, well, I got all 4 cells taken apart. I don't see anything. I mean, there's little slight rub marks on here, but the everything still seems to be there. Now, I did see this, which doesn't make sense. That's where the padding was. And it's like it's almost like it got wet somehow. But I see no signs of penetration or anything. So it's almost like whatever happened, the paper absorbed it, the moisture or whatever. Maybe, I don't know. It's not burst. And it's the same thing with the other ones. You've got the residue, whatever it is. Some rub marks, it looks like. Tape residue from disassembling the pack. And then you got the, whatever that is. This one actually, it doesn't look burst, but it does look distorted a little bit. I don't know if it's just me staring at this too hard. But again, you've got the same look as the other ones. This is the one that had the delamination on the bottom. I don't know if it's just bad stick, because in a little bit that I pull back, I don't see anything underneath it. I have to put some tape on that to make sure it stays on. .33, 3.33, 3.33, 3.33. So I'm kind of at a loss. So I rebuilt the pack. I put I got neoprene pads to go in between, and then I got the fiber tape to put the pack all back together. And I intentionally went through, because I still am not sure exactly what the problem was, So I thought, well, maybe if wires are touching something that's getting hot. So I put in a ton of extra cable management around to try and make sure that nothing is touching anything that it's not supposed to. So you can see a bunch of it down in there, just trying to make sure that nothing is gonna be a problem. And then I went to put the inverter back on, and I started hearing a rattling coming from the inverter. And as I was rocking it back and forth, I started noticing little drips of something. And you can see it's a little smeared right there. Can you see a little reflective right there? Same thing over there too. So it seems like it's dripping out of the inverter. Which doesn't make any sense to me. So I guess I need to open this thing up and see if something blew. I mean, I know that all the power was running through these studs here. It's no more power. I mean, it was 30 amps, 500-ish watts, less than 500 watts. I mean, good grief, the saw used 70 amps. So I guess I need to open this thing up and see if a capacitor blew and it's leaking stuff out or what. Let's pop off the lid. Ew. What in the world? So yeah, something blew. And it was something inside here. Yuck. Something definitely blew in here. Not exactly sure what that was. I mean, obviously it's kind of dirty in here, but that, whatever that was, it blew right there. These capacitors, they don't look blown, but they're bulging on top a little bit. All of them kind of are. Oh, there's something down there. That's what's rattling around. Oh, there's a couple somethings rattling around. Holy cow. I need to get needle nose pliers. There's one. And two. Is this other one a capacitor too? Probably. Is there fluid in those things? I honestly don't know. Whatever was in them is obviously leaking out all over the place. Which would explain why I did not see any signs of any damage to any of the other components. Well, that stinks. This was a good inverter. This was a, how do you say that, Gyandel 2200 watt pure sine wave. I've had it for, what, a year and a half maybe? And the thing dies and explodes, or whatever you want to call it, when it's not even being used. It was plugged in, but not being used. I'm sure somebody can tell me what's actually inside the capacitors, what kind of fluid or something. But apparently now I have to find a replacement inverter for my portable power station because this one died. Very depressing. I'll have to look and see what the warranty is on this thing, because I didn't get a whole lot of life out of this. I think less than 2 years. But I'll have to go back and look at the listing and see. But yeah. Nice to have an answer. But honestly, I was really hoping that it was just some wire leaning up against the charge controller and got too hot. Well, I have a brick right now. I guess it gives me a reason to get maybe some DC USB outlets, maybe, I don't know. But I think the portable power station is done for the time being. Well, it's been another couple of days. And first off, let me say, I hope everybody had a happy 4th of July, spending time with their friends and family, and had at least a burger or a hot dog or something. I know I was able to spend some time with my family, and it was very enjoyable, so I hope you were as well. So here's where we're at right now. I looked, and the warranty on the Gyandel, at least I think that's how it's pronounced, 2200 watt inverter that I purchased was a 3-year warranty. And I purchased it 2 years ago at the end of July. So I am almost 2 years in. So several days ago, I emailed Gyandel and asked them what their warranty steps and policy was to figure out how to get things moving along. And I got an email back. I think I sent it on Saturday, and they're over in Australia. I got an email Monday morning when I woke up, and they said, send us the serial number, your address and phone number, and we'll get a replacement out to you. So they're going to send me a new one right away. And so I am extremely happy with the service and the response from the Gyandel company. I did email them just a question, seeing if they have any ideas as to what might have caused the inverter to have these capacitors blow. Because if it was something that I ended up doing inadvertently, I want to make sure that I don't do it again. So I'm kind of waiting to see what they come back with. But right now, I'm just waiting for the new inverter to get shipped so that I can put it inside the power station. So I guess if you guys have any ideas as to what might have caused this issue, by all means, please let me know. I'm wide open to any ideas. But with that, there was definitely a not so fun experience. But I'm glad ultimately that I at least know what the problem device was. I may not know the actual cause of the failure, but at least I know what actual device was causing the smoke on the inside. And then it also makes sense as to why I was seeing the little moisture condensation oil. If I remember after looking it up, I believe that the capacitors have some kind of a non-conductive oil inside them. But again, I'm no electrical engineer. I'm sure somebody can correct me on that. But well, with that, I'm gonna let y'all go. So y'all stay safe, stay cool, and we'll catch up with you later.